Hello, everyone. My name is Bridget Torpy, and today I will be sharing my presentation on how we need to start sustainably consuming and producing meats. So, in recent years, meat consumption all around the world has been increasing, which is having a big impact on our environment and on our ability to sustainably produce these meats and meat products. We need to find more sustainable ways to produce these meats and find other solutions to cut down our meat and dairy intake for the good of the world. It's also not just the production of meat that's having an impact on us, but other habits we have when it comes to eating it as well, like what kinds of meat we're buying and how we're consuming it. So, more and more people have been consuming meat, which is due to reasons such as population growth, increased lifespan, bettering economy in more developing worlds. And all of these reasons mean we need to be producing more of these meats, which I'll go over another slide why that is bad for our environment. So, the ways in which we are producing meat is causing drastic issues to our environment. These needs are taking up more resources that we need to be using in other ways. And the animals themselves are actually giving out greenhouse gases that are really harming our environment. So we need to find more sustainable ways of producing these meats before things go from bad to worse. So this slide, I'm going to be going over the connections that I found from the 17 goals on the United Nations Development Department of Economics and Social Affairs. So goal 12 is probably the most obvious as it talks about responsible consumption and production and why it's bad and how we can combat it, how we can start producing and consuming meats in a far more sustainable and responsible way. Goal 13, climate action, also heavily plays into this, as the production of meat had a bad result on our environment as a whole. So that really ties into it, helping our climate, making it a better place, finding better, more sustainable ways of producing meat. For goal 2, no hunger, we need to stop wasting these foods as it's not only not sustainable, but it's also taking away from people who need to eat these meats as well. People who are going hungry, who need to be having these meats, but we're wasting them, we're throwing them away when we could be doing other things with them. And goal 6, clean water and sanitation, has to do with how much water is being used to produce certain meats, dairy products, and like meat and dairy substitutes. So we're using so much water to in the production of these things that we are kind of using up all of the clean water and sanitation and that people need. So for the 4 leaders that I found, on the left here we see 2 leaders from the United States, Josh Tetrick, the co-founder and CEO of cultivated meat company Eat Just Inc., and Aaron Bohr, the USMEF Vice President of Economic Analysis. And on the right here, I found some leaders from China who are also trying to find more sustainable ways of producing meat. So we have Mr. Xi Jinping, the vice chairman of the Standing Committee of Henan Provincial People's Congress, and Liu Xiaobao, the chairman of Social Development Affairs Committee of Henan Provincial People's Congress. So to actually fix the problem at hand, we all need to work together to make sure we're consuming meat and meat-related products in the most sustainable way possible. I know this can be a hard thing to do as people have been eating meat forever, and the easiest way of attaining these products is not always the most sustainable way. But here we have some of the bad impacts that it's been having on our environment. So we see some of the animals that we are consuming are that we consume are producing some of the highest level of greenhouse gases that we are seeing in today's world, which is having a very big impact. It takes more land, energy, and water to produce animal meat than it would for us to just grow crops for humans to eat. Certain seafoods have a very high carbon emission due to the boats needed to fish them out of the oceans, as well as the fish farms they're produced at. A lot of dairy products have a lot of emissions as well due to the amount of milk it takes to make them. And food waste is also a big issue here, as many people end up not using about 20% of the food that they end up buying for themselves. So here I have inserted an image of the greenhouse gas emissions per 100 grams of protein. So you can kind of get a visual of which products, which animals are producing the most greenhouse gas emissions in the world. So we can see up the top here, beef by far the worst for our environment. It's giving off so much greenhouse gas. And below we see like lamb, prawns that are being farmed, beef like dairy herd, cheese, milk. They're also producing a lot of greenhouse gas emissions. And at the bottom here, we can see things like nuts, peas, other pulses, ground nuts, tofu. They take up far, far less or use far, far less greenhouse gas or produce greenhouse gas emissions than like these meats we're seeing and like dairy products we're seeing up at the top here. So that's just something to take in and think about when you are thinking about the kind of meats that you want to buy and which ones are having the most impact on our environment. So, some of the solutions that I came up with are one, just to eat less meat products, only eating meat once or twice a week at most. Um, Seeing as, the more we buy meat, the more meat has to be produced in the world. So if we just eat less meat products, eat more like natural, like you don't have to no meat production involved, it can really help. Eating pasture raised, not factory raised, as factories give off a lot of emissions and they're not only like not good for us, not good for the environment, they're also not good for the animals that we're consuming. My third solution is to choose your meats wisely. Because as you saw on the last slide, certain meats are a lot worse for the environment than others. So, like the um, other meats like that, dairy products, they are just not good for our environment. So you need to take into consideration what you are buying, what you are consuming. And the last one is just don't waste food, only buy what you need and don't throw out any extra food. A lot of people, they buy a whole lot of meat for the week. They don't end up eating it. It ends up going bad. You have to throw it out, or you have to throw out leftovers, whatever. You just need to start buying what you know you're going to eat, what you know you will finish before it goes to waste. And then if you end up needing to buy more, you can go out and just buy more. Um, well, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you for listening.